Hi, this is Alex from devstories.eu. GitHub Actions, episode 3 of 14. A single automated commit is pushed to your repository. That commit triggers a workflow. That workflow makes another commit, which triggers the workflow again. Within minutes, you have burned through hundreds of run minutes in an accidental infinite loop. The way you prevent this and control exactly when your workflows execute is through event-driven triggers and filters. Every GitHub Actions workflow starts with the on keyword. This tells GitHub which events should wake up your workflow. You can specify a single event, like a push, or multiple events in an array. But events are not always simple triggers. Some events, like issues or pull requests, have multiple activity types. When an issue is opened, edited, or closed, it fires the same base event. If you just write that a workflow runs on issues, it runs for all of those activities. To be precise, you specify the exact activity types. You can tell GitHub to only run the workflow when an issue is opened, ignoring edits or closures. This saves run minutes and prevents unnecessary processing. Activity types handle what happened, but branch and path filters handle where it happened. When you trigger a workflow on a push or pull request, you usually do not want it running on every single branch. You use branch filters to target specific destinations, like the main branch or release branches. You can also filter by paths. If a developer fixes a typo in a README file, you do not need to run your entire test suite. Path filters allow you to include or exclude specific files and directories. Here is the key insight. When you mix positive and negative path filters, the order in which you write them matters. A positive filter tells the workflow to run if a specific path changes. A negative filter, denoted by an exclamation mark, tells the workflow to ignore changes in a path. GitHub evaluates these top to bottom. If you put a negative filter after a positive filter, the negative filter overrides the positive one for any matching files. Let's put this into practice. You want to trigger a build whenever code is pushed to the main branch, but you want to save money by ignoring changes that only affect documentation. Under the on keyword, you specify the push event. Below that, you define a branch filter for main. Then you add a paths filter. You might start with a positive filter for everything using a wildcard. Right below it, you add a negative filter for the docs folder, specifically targeting Markdown files. If a commit only modifies a Markdown file in the docs folder, the workflow stays asleep. If a commit modifies a Python file and a Markdown file, the workflow runs because the Python file triggers the positive filter. Now back to that infinite loop. When your workflow runs, GitHub provides a temporary credential called the GitHub token to authenticate against the repository. By design, any events triggered using this specific token will not create new workflow runs. This is a built-in safety mechanism to prevent recursive loops. However, if your workflow uses a personal access token to commit code or push tags, that safety net is gone. The new commit will trigger another workflow run, which makes another commit, creating an infinite loop. If you must use a personal access token, you have to be extremely disciplined with your branch and path filters to ensure the automated commit does not meet the trigger conditions for the workflow. The most effective way to optimize your compute costs is not writing faster code, but simply ensuring your workflows only run when they absolutely have to. Thanks for listening. Happy coding, everyone.